welcome to the Micromobility Podcast. I'm Prabin Joel Jones, your host. Before getting into another exciting episode, a quick announcement. We recently announced Micromobility Europe 2026 recently. We're bringing the event to Berlin this time on 2nd and 3rd of June. Early bird tickets are on sale right now. So if you haven't got your tickets yet, go to micromobility.io and get your tickets. For speaker submissions, we are closing the window earlier than usual. So if you want to speak at the event, send in your application soon. You'll find all the info on our website. With that, let's get started. Today I have Amit Gupta, who is co-founder, CEO of Yulu, a very exciting company from India. Yulu is one of the few companies that was resilient through tough times, because all of us know that the last couple of years were tough for micromobility, and Yulu survived all this, went through one or two pivots, and now they are growing at a crazy percentage, which we'll get into. Building in India is not easy. The market is difficult, but very, very few companies survived, and Yulu is one of them. And so today what we'll do is do a deep dive, try to understand how Yulu did it. Welcome to the show, Amit. Very happy to have you.
Thank you, Prabin, and it's a pleasure to be with you today. I know
Great.
you have been part of micromobility industry for a very, very long time. When the word was coined, I believe. So good to be with you on this podcast.
Thank you. For viewers who don't know you and the company, can you give a quick intro?
Certainly. So by education, I'm a mechanical engineer, but my profession took me to do software engineering, which I did not like. But I appreciated the fact that technology can do a lot to a lot of businesses. Post that, I worked for a finance company, Citibank, actually, to be precise. Then a quick stint for 3 years in a Bay Area-based startup who was doing something in auction management. And then I started a company called InMobi, which happened to be some of the very early companies in India who was looking at mobile internet closely. So we built the advertising platform for mobile internet, and very successful company. We became India's first profitable unicorn. And then I was turning 40. I started thinking about what next 10 years should look like. While I was doing very well, I think the joy of building something technology oriented, and for some of you who know me a little bit more, there's a glance product also within InMobi, which I ended up building before leaving. But really thinking very hard, I thought, let me pick up a tough problem, social problem, and solve using technology. And any one of you who have been reading about Bangalore and its notorious traffic, and that was a triggering point. I thought, there's a problem to be solved. Let's solve this problem. And that's where the idea of Yulu came into picture. And it was very simple. The phenomena you have been reading, thinking that pick up a bicycle, go to metro station, use it for first mile, last mile, cut down on cars, cut down on taxis. And that was a problem statement that drove me to start Yulu.
Got it.
So today,
I think you're
Yulu
is. I think you're being modest about your background, about InMobi. For people in India, they understand what InMobi is. There's not official numbers, but things that you read on Bloomberg and TechCrunch. The company is valued at 5 to 10 billion, depending on what time of the day, what time of the year you read the news. Can you just help us understand the scale of InMobi very, very quickly?
Yeah. So InMobi is actually pretty large. In fact, InMobi, when we started, was also very, very important and big bet. Imagine 4 of us starting a company, a tech company from India, where there's nothing called a product company. No one will give you money. No one will work for you. And then you have no market in the country. And then bunch of us thinking that this is going to be big and we are going to do it from India for the world. And unlike many of the companies, especially in India, who will go for a service type of business model. So they will have a team in India. They will go figure out some client in the US. We said, no, we'll build a product company. And rather than going to US, we actually went to East. So while our first country was India for ease of starting the
Yeah.
business. But then we quickly went to Southeast Asia, then we went to Africa, Middle East, and then Europe, and then US.
Mhm.
So we were the very, some of the very rare companies who followed east to west strategy from a market growth perspective. And that helped us pretty significantly. So sitting today, while InMobi just completed, by the way, 18 years. So
Wow. Yeah.
it's a company when the entire mobile internet got started. So a very long journey, but they are one of the top players when it comes to mobile advertising. So it's a very, very deep technology stack, not only advertising, but there's a stacks for advertiser, for publishers. I was mentioning about Glance, which is
Yeah.
another B2C side, where there's a piece of offering for handset manufacturers, where the code sits on the handset, and anyone who is using their phone, they get to see beautiful content powered by Glass. And that itself is a very large business for the
Mhm.
company at the moment. And company is at a scale where they're producing a lot of profits.
Yeah.
There's a good scale, global scale, and we believe that, at least from InMobi's perspective, company is a good candidate to take the company public in India market. So hopefully there will be a debut, uh, and hopefully it will be a very valuable company for a very long time.
Got it. So from InMobi, what was your beginning with Yulu? Because the company was very different compared to what it is today, right? What was your start? What was your first launch like? What was your first product?
Sure, sure. As I mentioned that we all hated Bangalore's traffic. So let's
Yeah,
find a
me too.
solution, and solution, you know, back then, even today, we thought the playbook happening in China. If you remember, the Ofo Mobike
Yeah.
back then, and then bunch of action even in Europe. So be it what was happening in France or in London, basically city of Paris or London. So took a playbook from that. We thought that maybe something can happen in India as well. So wasting no time, went to a place called Ludhiana in India, which is the biggest market for manufacture for bicycles,
Mhm.
and were able to convince a tier one supplier to make a vehicle for us. And within 3 months, we got the custom made bicycle, which can be used for shared mobility, put some kind of IoT so that it can be operated through app. And then we launched it in a small area in Bangalore, which has got a lot of people roaming around for offices and all.
Mhm.
And not to our surprise, people were extremely delighted, and they were like, "Oh my God, I am having a Europe moment in Bangalore. Look at Bangalore, whatever, blah."
Yeah.
And in no time, we started becoming talk of the town. Business started growing. And then underneath, we found out some interesting pattern. While the idea was that people should use it for first mile, last mile, or to
Mhm.
basically replace their car movement with bicycle, we were not seeing that after
Mhm.
initial euphoria. Rather, people were using it for their morning fitness regime. So we
Okay.
see someone using Yulu bicycle back then at 6 a.m. Or
Mhm.
we see late in the night when they're going out with their friends, having their ice cream shops.
Mhm.
So those things were not helpful. And we had a choice of becoming from a mobility company to a fitness company, or ditch whatever we have built
Yeah.
and remain core and solve the problem. So we basically took a path of the fundamental part that we are passionate about fixing mobility and not the health. So
Mhm.
we said, okay, let's ditch the bicycle, let's figure out something else. And in no time, we were clear that we need a special vehicle which is running on some powered mode. And even there, we had a two fork in our path. Either you use petrol vehicles, which are
Mhm.
easy to source, or in terms of fuel option, you can get it everywhere. But we were not convinced that this model will ever work.
Yeah.
So rather, we took a harder path. We actually went to China
Mhm.
and kind of work with an OEM who can make a simple electric bike for us. So luckily, they had a platform which we were able to use, and because of that, our entire decision of going electric uh, took only 4 to 5 months. So we were having a platform which we were able to modify as per our need. And we actually took one more important decision here, that our bike should be easy to use. They should not require any kind of license. So in India, by the way, you'll be surprised, 85% people in our country do not have vehicle of their own, and the same amount of people do not have driving license.
Wow. Yeah.
But they know how to ride a bicycle. They do not
Yeah.
know how to ride a motorbike, but they know
True.
how to ride a bicycle. So that was a construct we gave it to our design team, that we need something which is super easy, and there should not be any obligation to have a driving license and so on. And it was again a punt, I would say, as a risky, because this kind of vehicle was not existing in India. So we were building a new habit for the consumers with a new type of product. So it was a risky one, but the moment we launched it, people just took it with open arms. We became the biggest race for youngsters in the city.
Yeah.
We started seeing the anticipated volume from office commuters on Yulu. And from there, we never looked back. And I'll talk about some other hiccups during the
Yeah.
journey. But we got the PMF in terms of, this is a vehicle of form factor of choice. This is the right thing, going electric, going swappable battery. Some of those big decisions we took, and in retrospect, they were the right decisions, at least for our business model.
The initial bikes that you launched, the bicycles that you launched, they were mechanical, right? It's not electric bikes. No,
They
it's
were
not
not
e-bikes.
electric bikes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
they were pedal bikes,
Yeah.
but with an IoT, as I said,
Yeah.
just to operate the lock or the track
Yeah.
the bike.
Yeah. I think in one of the interviews you mentioned that, for morning commute, you don't want to, bicycle in Bangalore traffic and get to office, completely sweaty, right?
True.
And what was the fleet size then when you launched initially?
So we did have an basically a Mercury requirement, because we were building something of from grounds up.
Yeah.
So our first lot, we bought 2,000 vehicles.
Okay.
In fact, the very first lot was 500 bikes, and then we gave them order for 2,000, which they started shipping
Okay.
almost every week. So first lot was 2,000, and then that particular version, we bought 10,000 units
Okay.
overall. Yeah,
Got
and then
it.
we migrated to some better version later.
Got it. And when you got started, what was the initial funding like? I mean, is it public? How much you raised
Yeah.
at that time? Okay.
So correct. So we raised approximately $7 million in our seed capital.
Okay.
And that 7 million, half of it we kind of invested or wasted in our first avatar of bicycle.
Yeah.
Half of the money, thankfully, was saved.
Yeah.
And then post that, we raised another round of capital from Bajaj Auto Limited. So they gave us $8 million. And so initially, you can say we had access to 7 plus 8, $15 million
Okay.
of dollars,
Got
just
it.
to figure things out. Yes.
Okay. And so just for us to have a timeline in mind, your start was in 2017, right? With the
It
bicycles.
was, we came together 2017 as a founding team.
Yeah.
2018 was the time when we launched our bicycle.
Okay.
And then February, March 2019
Yeah.
was the time when we launched our electric mobility products.
Okay. Got it. So the new form factor, it was completely new for Bangalore, right? It was,
Yeah.
I mean, I think everybody took notice of the form factor, right?
Yeah.
Was it a conscious choice, or like you said, you went to China, you found a platform and then you launched it, or the form factor was a conscious choice?
Form factor was actually a strategic choice. We had a strong belief that this vehicle has to be purpose built.
Yeah.
And also, while I was saying that the bicycle was not a super hit product, but it taught us many lessons. It taught us the fact that if you get things standard off the shelf, they will break, and there were also a lot of theft.
Yeah.
So by we going something which was rock solid, which can be used or sometime abused by the strangers, so you needed a design choice which is very different, and for that you had to compromise, and a compromise was time to the market.
True.
If you actually can take something off the shelf, which some of our friends or industry companies were doing across the globe, they were buying, if you remember, kick scooters from known companies, and their life was only 6 weeks. we were talking about a product in the context of India where the roads are a little bit on the lower side. Uh, we were looking at 3 years plus life.
Mhm.
So for that, you have to think very differently. And we were adamant that, even if we are delayed to the market, and back then, by the way, India was also very competitive.
Yeah.
There were other companies who were building in this space. Sometime you will think about your own strategy, whether you're on the right track or not. Sometime there will be FOMO, sometime there will be
Mhm.
internal team who will say, hey, look at them, they're raising so much of capital, they are growing like very fast,
Yeah.
they will kill us. But call it founders' belief or this conviction, and also very strong point of view that this business required a special vehicle, that too running on electric mobility. So that was
Yeah.
a very strong design choice we made, and we
Yeah.
did not deviate from that path.
Got it. Yeah. For listeners who haven't been following the space, there was a time when we had Bounds. There was also a company called Vogo. I don't know if you remember Vogo, and there were a couple of them. They raising a lot of money. And one of the challenges that Bounds had. So Vivek was on the podcast as well. Vivek Anand was on the podcast as well at some point. Um, One of the biggest challenges was vandalism and theft. Right. I mean, it was a massive news. Right. Uh, did you have those challenges? The reason why I'm asking is when you launch a new vehicle or such a service in a new city, even Paris, for example, vandalism when Lime launched in Paris was pretty high, but now it's kind of under a manageable number. Did you have any challenges similar to Bounce, for example, in Bangalore?
Sure. So when we launched bicycles, when we started the company, our first theft event happened in first week itself.
Wow.
Okay. So not surprisingly, and everyone is like, "Oh, I told you, you will be bankrupt soon." I would say the first 1 year with our bicycle, they taught us a lot of lessons
Yeah.
related to theft and vandalism, both how to manage the asset. And when we were launching our electric mobility product, a lot of that wisdom actually came with us, and we made far lesser, mistakes. One of the big thing was, uh, not doing park it anywhere. So
Yeah.
if you remember, China even Bounce, by the way, you can pick up the scooter from anywhere and drop it anywhere.
Yeah.
And not surprisingly, even for Yulu, when we started, you can pick our bicycle from anywhere and drop it anywhere. And it became a treasure hunt for the users and for our staff. So after 6 months, we were clear that this business model cannot be built with this China approach or
Yeah.
this drop it anywhere approach. We have to go and take the leaf out of what France is doing or what London is doing. And we basically created those what we call Yulu zones. So they were not easy, that infrastructure never existed. But we had great and ability to go convince the city authorities and got those places from the city authorities and within the tech parks and from the residential complexes. So
Yeah.
everyone basically gave us spaces in front of their real estate. And that became not only infrastructure for us to build the business, but higher operational efficiency, better customer retention rate, and last but not the least, on the theft and vandalism, because these zones were made in very high visibility area. So
Yeah.
our asset got, protection from those vandalism cases and theft cases. So when we were launching electric mobility, we never had to worry about our assets wandering in some random places. Second thing was going non-standard parts. So if you steal my seat or my tire, what will you do? It is junk. You
Yeah.
cannot do anything about that. So that was another thing. Third thing is the vehicle was supremely strong. It had very less plastic. So if you throw it, if you put it into the water, nothing happens. So IP65, very super strong frame, less plastic. So all of those challenges which other companies were facing, they were facing because they took the shortcut of just taking something which was available. We built something which we thought would help us with these constraints. So constraints were the driving factor of these design choices what we made.
Got it. And just for audience to understand, when you say these drop-off zones, it's still not locked. I mean, it's not like you're
Yeah.
locking the vehicle to something. It's like virtual zones, right?
Yeah. So what happens? Yeah, these are virtual zones.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in India, making those docking stations is also very, very tough. Very, very
Yeah.
tough.
Hmm.
Reason is that there's no, we do not have those proper footpaths, at least in Bangalore for sure.
Yeah.
And we just have lack of spaces. And the moment you talk about building anything, then people sometimes get very touchy. They
Yeah.
think you're going to encroach on them, so you have a right on their property. So those softer aspect that someone is coming building something on my property, that is a big no go. Versus all we say, just like you see a small grid of where car can park with a paint mark.
Hmm.
If you say, okay, I'll put a small blue color just so that people can identify, and please put that small board so that
Yeah.
people can identify it as a Yulu zone. That was a good trade-off. And then app, thankfully, technology was also up there to show you that okay, this is where the Yulu zone is. And the moment you get to that vicinity, you will see a Yulu zone familiar Yulu zone board. You see the blue color marking, and you know
Yeah.
where to park. And because we were talking about a daily commuter, so it became a habit. They knew from my apartment I will pick up this bike and I'll go to office. I'll go to metro where I have a Yulu zone. This is a place where they will park.
Got
So
it.
the familiarity became actually very helpful with the compliance of these rules and regulations. And by the way, one good part which I did not tell you explicitly, these spaces were free of cost. So almost
Hmm.
98% of these spaces were given to us by these well-wishers of the city.
Yeah.
We didn't have to pay money, and that's how we survived. Otherwise, finding real estate in the top locations, your business model will
Yeah.
literally dead on arrival.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the reason why I was asking this is that that there's kind of like a misconception that vandalism and theft is like pretty high in India, and listening to what you said, if it is approached in the right way, you can actually minimize theft and vandalism, right?
Yeah. So
Um,
ours was, by the way, 0.6%, just for your
wow.
records,
Okay.
which
Okay.
was, I think, one of the lowest in the industry.
Yeah, which is even lower than what we saw in Europe, by the way, like in
Yeah.
Paris or other cities. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was, you launched this new vehicle, 1 year or so after you launched the bicycle, and business was kind of like stabilizing, and then we had COVID, right? COVID
Yeah.
was pretty tough in India. I mean, all of us have at least one or two people that we know that passed away and all that, and it was like a complete shutdown, right, in most of the cities. How was it going into the COVID time? How did you survive that time?
So, so one thing which was good, uh, just before COVID, like couple of months prior to that, we closed a round with Bajaj.
Mhm.
So we had some money in the bank. Uh, but you know that money will always keep on going. And then when COVID happened, all of us were stranded. We were forced, everyone was forced uh, into in their homes, which means overnight the business revenue became zero.
Yeah.
But a few things worked in our favor really well. First thing first, we were the only mobility option in the city or in the country for that matter, which was public transportation, but without any driver or any co-passenger.
Yeah.
So we approached the city authority and said that we have this safe option. We started sanitizing also, and there will be a person who's sanitizing it. There will be
Mhm.
timestamp shown on the bike on the app screen. Second thing, there were a lot of COVID warriors, if you
Mhm.
remember the word coined. And who
Yeah.
were these Corona warriors? They were the people in healthcare, in essential service. They were not the people who were very rich, by the way, just to be very
Yeah.
clear. So they needed something, and the taxis were not operating, bus were not operating. So they needed some option. Many of them did not have their own vehicle. So we started getting requests from individuals and also
Mhm.
from civic authorities that
Okay.
these many nurses and people have to move. Your bikes are anyway standing. Can you do something about it? We
Mm.
said, no problem, we'll give it to you. And back then, our bikes, the battery, which is a kind of the energy source, the concept was battery swappable battery. So my guy will come, they will be charging our batteries in distributed areas. My guy will come in a bag, they will swap the battery at the Yulu zones.
Mhm.
So if we give you this bike, Mr. COVID warrior, how will you charge the battery? Because I don't have this
Yeah.
operation running. So then we quickly found a way to give them the charger and give them, and everything is anyway, we don't have key in our bikes. Everything is app controlled. So very quickly we gave that authentication to open the battery lid to these COVID warriors. He said, okay, this bike is now yours.
Mhm.
And this is the charger you charge at home. And now you go and serve the city and serve the humanity.
Mhm.
That was a building block for us to later that became a goods mobility business. I'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But those days, because of COVID warriors, we started getting business. Second thing, as and when the government started relaxing the norm, so even normal people will have to go for some work. They needed some public transportation. We were around, so we were the only
Mhm.
company allowed.
Yeah.
And you will be surprised to know, in 3 months from day of lockdown, we were back to the pre-COVID numbers. Probably the only company in the country, mobility company, who were able to rebound from
Yeah.
the impact of COVID. So that was our journey during COVID. I would say it was a disaster for the humanity, for
Yeah.
all of us. But from Yulu's perspective, it taught us uh, a lot of lessons, and more importantly, our ability to just react to the situation very quickly, make small changes, and enable these use cases very quickly. That kept us afloat and also gave us a foundation for later goods mobility part, which
Got
again I'm
it.
going to talk about.
Yeah, I was looking at your numbers, and even through COVID, I think year on year, I mean, you still grow. I mean, it's not like massive growth, but you still
Yeah,
grew during COVID years as well, right?
yeah.
And just for the audience to understand, what was the scale then? How many cities were you in at that time?
Yeah, we were present in 3 cities. I would say
Okay,
primarily 2 cities, Bombay and Bangalore.
okay,
And that's it, pretty much it. Yeah.
okay, got it. And you had like about 15,000 vehicles then, 10 or 15,000.
We had approximately 8 to 9,000 odd
Okay.
vehicles.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you know emerged out of COVID, like you mentioned as well. The business was growing through COVID as well, and
Yeah.
you rebounds pretty quick, right? At what point did you decide that you have to pivot again?
So business was coming to some normalcy. But if you recall, during COVID time, a lot of people went to their hometowns.
Yeah.
So there was acute shortage of the quote unquote the whole fleet of people who were doing the delivery for food, grocery, medicine, and the need for those things were skyrocketing. And as I mentioned, that India, a lot of people do not have vehicles, especially the bottom of the pyramid. People who become delivery guys, the gig workers, what we call, they do not have access to their own vehicle. So COVID warriors were one part, but we started getting a lot of requests that can I have access to your vehicles?
Yeah.
And we're still kind of recovering for our core business. We were having bikes, and we thought, why not? So earlier, or for that business model, the pricing model was you pick up my bike from station one, switch it on, you go, put
Mhm.
it back. The moment you put it back, I'm gonna charge you per minute. But for the gig workers, the delivery part, all we had to do, there were two things. One thing was that I cannot charge you per minute, otherwise the business model economics will not work for
Yeah.
you. So we said we'll give you a daily pack, no problem.
Mm.
The second thing which we had to do was again the battery part. If the scooter is with you, then where will I chase you to change the battery?
Yeah.
So we decided to create the battery swapping stations. So rather than my guy going to the bike, flipping the battery, we said, you come to me, Mr. User,
Yeah.
and there's a guy sitting with bunch of batteries charged. You come, he will flip the battery for you. So we started the battery swapping operations with that use case. And once again, with that infrastructure, new infrastructure in place, we started offering these bikes to these gig workers on a daily rental plan. They were paying us starting, close to $1.50 per day.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then business started growing from there.
Yeah.
And we started seeing a more secular trend, which was not just a COVID. So in our own mind, we were still not convinced that why we should, focus more on the moving people versus moving goods we should be focusing on. But the moment we started seeing the phenomena of this last mile delivery, customers'
Yeah.
preference of getting things at their home is a non-U-turn. There's no reversible. It's
Yeah.
now set. And then we decided to double down on that phenomena. And we also know that our first generation electric bike was not the best form factor for that movement.
Mhm.
And that's where we decided to upgrade the platform. So we launched a second generation electric bike, which was far better seat, far better light, cushion, safety, comfort, where someone can be there on 10 hours on that bike without any problem.
Yeah.
So that's where we also created a new brand identity from a business model perspective. So we had a blue color bike and we had a gray color bike. We call Yulu Miracle, Yulu Dex. So Yulu Dex was only for movement of goods. And then we never looked back on that track. And
Mhm.
we, rather than force fitting our, that constraining the business, we said, okay, let them grow at per their pace.
Yeah.
And there was some interesting thing we did. Rather than having two SKUs, we actually had one product.
Mhm.
Only the color, the panel were different. So we were sourcing them, making them as per our whatever financial access we have got. But the allocation, whether it will be a blue color or gray color, we were able to make those choices every month.
Yeah.
And we started seeing that business trajectory going pretty well. And sitting today, you mentioned that number 90% plus. So today we make 90% of our business by the use case of moving goods. Although we are not a logistic company, we
Yeah.
are a provider of mobility. That's what we have been doing from day one. Our user is that delivery guy who is now delivering food, he's delivering grocery and services. And then the small 10%, below 10% number is still the OG micro mobility, what we call, where
Shared
someone will pick up
Micromobility.
the bike from Yulu zone, go to their office or metro. So
Yeah.
that's the business construct at the moment.
Got it.
So it was not a pivot.
Yeah.
I just want to make one small point.
Yeah. Sure.
It was not a pivot. It was a transition, the split of revenue. So even today we have both lines of the business, but yeah, without
Yeah.
any mixing any words, the moving goods is far larger for us.
Absolutely. What is fascinating is that, a similar phenomenon happened in Europe as well. I mean, I think with Gorillas and Getir, this was before COVID. There's so many delivery businesses that came into the market, a lot of money raised as well. That, in fact, fueled a massive micromobility ecosystem as well. I mean, I was part of a company called Bond Mobility. I was the CTO. We had a large fleet
Yeah.
in Zurich. And we used to get calls from all these companies every week saying, "Hey, I mean, we ran out of bikes. Can you sell bikes?" And then if when you look at the amount of money that they would pay, no negotiations. I mean, we would say this is a price, and they're okay buying everything out, right? So the demand was pretty high, right? But what also happened is that eventually, Gorillas did not go well. Getir acquired Gorillas. Getir is not doing well. A lot of these businesses shut down, and it also took the entire industry down, right? But the contrast is that in India, it is working. So Zepto, for example, it kind of got started during COVID. Now it's a multi-billion-dollar business, and it's working in India, and it's super fascinating, right? And for you specifically, did you see this trend, coming much earlier, or you just went with the flow, or did you predict that this is going to happen in India, or?
So what was very evident, Praveen, that the phenomena of user expecting delivery at their home that much without taking too much of credit
Yeah.
was very clear. And the reason is you're also a consumer, right? You're not living
Yeah.
in some isolation. So that was a phenomena which was very, very evident
Yeah.
that be it your grocery or your food or medicine, you started expecting them to come to your home. But I must give it to Zepto to start with to say that, hey, I'm gonna look for this interesting consumer psyche or wish to give it to you in 10 minutes. And even there, if you look at it, and hats off to founders of Zepto,
Yeah.
they also kind of, that young blood, they knew the phenomena of reels. They understand the 30 seconds content phenomena and that anxiety everyone has got in their generation. So they were able to predict that if I create a logistic of 10 minutes, irrespective whatever it is, people will give me preference over a one-day delivery.
Yeah.
So one-day delivery, which was at that point of time was phenomenal, by the way, from Amazon and Flipkart. But they said 10 minutes, and each one of us were like, dude, I don't need it. I
Yeah.
can wait. I have been waiting for my big basket and my whatever. What's a big deal in that?
Yeah.
But the moment people tasted blood, it was almost like, you using now Wi-Fi. You cannot go Ethernet, or now, the moment you are on airports, or the moment you cut off these, there's a new thing being set up. And they operationally proved that
Yeah.
this is possible. And it almost became a talk of the town and the magic. Any guest coming from outside of Bangalore or Bombay, I will show you, let me show you the magic. Tell me a wish and press a button. And it was a bloody viral moment. And they did an exceptional job of figuring the first principle way of
Yeah.
logistics and giving you the product in 5 minutes. And God damn, it was too good.
Yeah.
And then second thing, I actually admire Blinkit. So while, by the way, OG was maybe Dunzo or
Yeah.
Swiggy
Done so. Yeah.
Instamart,
Yeah.
who Instamart was, by the way, also around, but they were doing it, but with not that urgency. I remember Big Basket was there. They were doing a
Yeah.
2-hour delivery. Again, outstanding. But it was Zepto founders who said 10 minutes. And
Yeah.
Blinkit guys, in no time, they pivoted from the earlier avatar of Grover, if I'm not wrong, to Blinkit, and all in. And Alvinder, what an execution and what a play and the scale. I think Blinkit showed a path to run this profitably.
Yeah.
So Zepto showed operationally possible. Blinkit showed it is financially also possible. And then thanks to uh, Swiggy guys who said, no, I'm going to make it both. So these three companies just established this whole new habit in our head.
Yeah.
And then Flipkart sitting on in the sidelines, Big Basket and Amazon, and now a couple of more companies. Everyone is now, so 10 minutes delivery has become a norm.
The
If you're
standard. Yeah.
not serving in 10 minutes, and thank you very much, you are no longer around. So this phenomena, actually, each one of us started believing after seeing it. And honestly, a lot of us thought this is just something which, not going to happen or whatever. Now, from Yulu's perspective, we started catching this trend also on the sideline, but we were in the center of this
Yeah.
whole revolution, if I may say
Mhm.
that. And why this is the case? Because when quick commerce was happening, it was not happening in isolation of the food commerce business. So Swiggy, Zomato, they basically have been doing well. Their business was only growing post-COVID, by the way, they're
Yeah.
only growing. So for Blinkit and for Zepto and for Instamart, when they needed delivery people, they cannot go to a guy who was working for Swiggy, Zomato, because they were being paid at a very good amount. And for them to pay to their eyes and, to very high number, not possible. So you have to build a new supply for your business, which is on top of whatever food delivery guys are already doing. On top of that, there's a Rapido who is also growing,
Yeah.
Uber Moto is growing. And then we became the godsend opportunity. How? Because there were people, so there's no lack of people in our country who are looking for some livelihood, but they do not have mobility. So Yulu came as the only vehicle of choice, where you don't have a vehicle but you're willing to work.
Yeah.
Please come and start delivering. So we started enabling supply for them, and we became a very symbiotic partner for all of these companies. So we saw this much ahead of most of the other companies,
Yeah.
because we started seeing the user pattern. Earlier, the pattern was movement like this, and then we started seeing movement which is like a flower.
True.
And oh my God, what is this? And what is this new bag? Anyway, you're a consumer, so you knew
Yeah.
what's happening. So yeah, and this phenomena actually helped us a lot. And the reason is super simple. Our bikes actually run at 25 kilometer per hour speed. And for this 2 minutes, 2 kilometer radius distance, the inefficiency because of the lower speed is next to zero.
Yeah.
In fact, because of Yulu, these guys actually are making 20 to 25% extra money in their pocket. Just as a reference, a quick commerce guy, they do typically 75 kilometer per day distance.
Yeah.
And what they pay me is actually lower than the cost of petrol. So they pay me for overall package, which has got the bike, energy, insurance, and repair and maintenance. If they are doing their own petrol scooter, they
Way
will
much more
pay
higher.
more just
Yeah.
for the petrol scooter. So it's
Yeah.
a financially stupid decision for someone to use their own bike, which is a fuel driven, versus Yulu. And Yulu basically gives more money in your pocket.
Yeah.
And that became an basically it's a no-brainer
True.
financially, logistically. The whole thing is clean, it is nice, it's
Yeah.
silent. All of those factors started coming together in our growth story.
Yeah.
So
It,
today, by
it,
the way, one third of all
yeah.
orders
Mhm.
in city like Bangalore or Bombay of quick commerce happen on Yulu.
Wow. Okay, that's massive. It's very interesting because you had this COVID, and for example, Bounds also went through a pivot during that time. Vivek is a very very good founder, a brilliant guy, but it did not work so well. But you took a path which actually worked out really well for you, right? Which is fascinating. And I was looking at your numbers, and I think you're growing at an insane percentage. I don't know if people get the idea of how fast you're growing. Can you give us an idea how fast you're growing post pivot?
Yeah. So over last 3 years, Praveen, we have grown almost 8 to 9 times.
Yeah.
And this growth is mirroring the development in the market, in the ecosystem. So while we are happy about whatever we have achieved in absolute sense, uh, we are a EBITDA profitable company doing well, number one in the country.
Uh-huh.
But a part of me who has seen far more global markets, I think we are not even scratched the surface.
Yeah.
Like with around 45, 50,000 vehicles, what Yulu has got at the moment, it's a small drop in ocean for the country of our size and scale. Look at China. Every city, a small city will have 50,000 vehicles, like
Yeah.
in our business model. And we are talking about, overall 4 or 5
For
cities
everything.
where we are doing our business. So from a canvas perspective, it's a humongous canvas. We know how to run this business profitably. We have built some very interesting partnerships who actually give us a strong foundation to grow
Uh-huh.
from here in a much faster manner. So yeah, it is pretty different than other
Yeah.
markets.
So your numbers are public, just for the audience to understand. Financial year 2023, the revenue was around 5 million, and then 2024 it was like 3 times. So it was around 15 million, and if you understand well, financial year 2025, you were almost like 100% growth
Double.
during this time, right? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fascinating, and I'm with you that for a humongous market like India, 45,000 is a very small number, and you're just getting started. Also for the quick commerce industry as well, right? I mean, it's going to grow even further, right?
Yeah.
Um, how do you see the market? Like, I mean, you said one third of, for example, in a city like Bangalore, one third of the orders happen through Yulu, right? But where do
Yeah.
you see the market going just in India? What does the market size look like?
So, so if I talk about market opportunity for Yulu, not just the quick commerce. So
Yeah.
while quick commerce is contributing to little more than half of our revenue today,
Uh-huh.
it's a very huge uptake what we have got. But largely, if you look at the opportunity for someone like us, so at core, what we are doing, we are mobility as a service company. We want to power every movement. And if it is commercial in nature, it makes an ROI because of electric, right? So that's what our head is. Now, we have this low speed vehicle, which is currently catering to two use cases: movement of people, movement of goods. Movement of people is easy, last mile, first mile. Within the movement of goods, there are use cases of food delivery, groceries,
Yep.
now electronics, and bunch of things. And very recently, there's a new phenomena of quick service, because the same person, me, who wants my egg and my food in 10 minutes, I also want my other services also to be in 10 minutes.
Mhm.
So there are companies like Pronto, Ping, Snabbit, who are basically saying, click a button, I will send you a made in 10 minutes. So they're all, by the way, using Yulu.
Wow.
And we see the phenomena of instant gratification, be
Mhm.
it product or service, and that too in hyperlocal manner. The core of it. So we are almost like an AWS for mobility, where you have to move anyone for work. We are the most reliable layer out there.
Mhm.
Now, with our low speed stack, we are able to power all of that. But there is an opportunity for us to look beyond that. What are these opportunities? We are talking about the bike taxi, we're talking about the e-commerce,
Yeah.
we're talking about a use case like Porter. So few months back, we ended up launching another vehicle we call Yulu Express. Yulu Express is a two-seater vehicle, again electric, runs on swappable battery, same purpose built, and it also moves faster. So it goes at 45 kilometer per hour speed. And we are able to unlock a lot of other use cases in the construct of the same city movement. So either they are moving people or they are moving goods, and then the use cases involve a shipment from Amazon, Meesho, Flipkart. We have this bike taxi use cases where someone is just a gig worker, same gig worker, and sometimes they're also multi-category. So there's a gig worker who becomes a bike taxi rider during the office hours, in off office hours, that starts delivering goods. And we believe that this is an additional market from a SAM perspective is almost 7 to 10x larger than the low speed market. So
Mhm.
low speed, we have zero competition, by the way.
Okay.
On this market, yeah, there's a competition of Activa and bunch of motorcycles.
Yeah.
So we basically have now started playing in both segments. So no matter whatever way you cut it, if you just talk about the gig worker from a concept perspective, there are 10 million out there.
Mhm.
We believe that this number, by the way, sitting today in China is 100 million.
Yeah.
Uh,
Wow.
Although in China, this 100 million is not just delivery guys, just to be clear. They're
Mhm.
gig workers in the factories, but what is there for sure in our country, the personal vehicle ownership is going to be low. In fact, trend wise also, people are not buying they're taking it as a service, as a concept. Second thing is, uh, we will have a far bigger work
Yeah.
opportunity, people who will requiring some kind of mobility option. And we want to go unlock all of those use cases with our
Mhm.
technology and our product innovation.
Is it fair to say that, looking at, so right now you're at 45, 50K vehicles. Is it fair to assume that 1 million vehicles is a fair target in the next, say, 5 years or
Very
so?
precisely. So that's
Okay.
our base plan. Um, yeah, there's no reason for us to not hit that number. And it's also very, if you look at from the existing market perspective, we have little bit over 200 million two-wheeler riders.
Okay.
India sees 20 to 25 million new two-wheeler being sold every year. So even from that lens, a, a country which has got 200 million people riding two-wheeler, can you move some of them to a million number for Yulu and
Yeah.
assume we are the largest one, even conservative side, if we have half or one third of the market share. These numbers are just very, very small number from any stretch of imagination.
Yeah.
Important part is you solve that, you make it valuable. So it's not like you just be there. You have to make it work and you add value and get value for yourself and company. And we see enough and more use cases for that.
Got it. Can you talk about the infrastructure requirement for all this? Because what you're doing is not just giving the vehicle, you also have a battery swapping infrastructure, right? And you have a specific
Yeah,
brand for that as well. Can you talk about that?
sure. So many a times people, they mistake us that, oh, we are a scooter rental company.
Yeah.
It is actually not. We are a clean energy mobility infrastructure company. And our infrastructure includes not only the places which I told you where people can pick up and drop the bike, but with now goods mobility business model, we also have created operational hubs where someone can go and get a battery, the bike quickly repaired. Or
Mhm.
if you have a problem with the bike, you leave it, you pick it, a new one, and go. We also have created this battery swapping infrastructure I was mentioning in the past. That electric mobility, the biggest problem is adoption is the range anxiety. So
Yeah.
these guys, when they run for 70, 80, 100 kilometers, they don't want to be putting it on charge and waste their 4 or 5 hours of productive time. So we circumvented that by saying that you don't have to waste time. You come to my swapping station, and less than 1 minute, you take a new battery, leave your old battery back in the bay, and go.
Mhm.
So we have been able to reduce all the downtime to almost zero. So these guys who are using Yulu, they have a 100% uptime. And for them,
Yeah.
time is money. And higher the time they invest in delivering their service or good, the more incentive kicker they get
Yeah.
from rest of the peers. And this is where we basically get additional goodness. So this battery infrastructure is a very, very important strategic part to our growth story, because it is almost like, so this is one service along with my bike. The next thing you need is like almost like my body. I need to have a food, and I
Mhm.
need food every day. And if you make that omnipresent and frictionless, you have a very sticky product. So in our case, we have been able to build a network at 1.5 kilometer depth. So
Okay.
density, basically every 1.5 kilometer, there's a station where you can get the battery swapping done. And we are able to do a 99.9% availability
Mhm.
using machine learning and tech. So the good part is our bikes are also IoT enabled.
Yep.
In real time, we know how much battery this particular bike has got. Our data in the past tells me that what type of typical driving pattern, which all area he moves to. So my ability to predict that this scooter will require battery swapping when he was in this location is very, very high.
Mhm.
And if I am able to extrapolate that, my ability to line up my supply for the battery is also very, very high.
Yeah.
And imagine when you have such a high degree quality of data coming from first party, which is us, our ability to predict demand and supply is very, very good.
Yeah.
And that led to very high uptime and very high customer CSAT. And that is the secret sauce.
Got it.
So,
And
so for us, this infrastructure, which is powered by a lot of data and this density, what we have been able to build is a very huge differentiation
yeah,
versus anyone else.
exactly. And which cities are you live with this battery swapping infrastructure?
Sure. So I would say both. So battery swapping and
And
mobility
yeah,
is
exactly.
basically
Yeah.
they go hand in hand. So Yulu is today present in 10 cities. We are present 4 cities on our own,
Mhm.
which is Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, and Hyderabad, where it's a what we call COCO model,
Okay.
company owned, company operated. And there are the 6 cities. The business model is FOCO,
Mm.
actually FOFO, where there's a local entrepreneur who will buy our bikes and they will run it.
Okay. It's
And
a
we what we
franchise
get
model.
is a franchisee
Mm.
model. So we get the platform fee, we get the revenue share, and they are all Yulu branded vehicle. They're all Yulu tech. And why we are doing it? Because we understood very early in the game that mobility business, unlike many other businesses,
Mhm.
they're not running in the cloud. You're running on the road,
Yeah.
where there's a requirement for you to be interfacing with the local governments. There's a requirement for you to understand the local culture, nuances. And we were able to find some like minded people, very passionate entrepreneurs, who said, I want this service in Indore, in Kochi, in
Mhm.
Kolkata. And we have our own roadmap and our own management bandwidth. So rather than we trying to do 200, 500 cities on Yulu side, we said Yulu will do 10 to 15 cities on our own, and then remaining city we'll work with these entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So we have basically currently 10 cities, as I said, 4 on our own, 6 run by other entrepreneurs. And if I fast forward that, let's say 3 years out, we have an opportunity to be in at least 100 plus cities very easily with the help of this model. The same model can be extrapolated to the cities or countries, by the way, outside of India,
Mhm.
where I can come to your city if there's
Yeah.
a use case, and if I find someone like you, entrepreneurial,
Mhm.
we are happy to give our technology. So we call Yulu in the box. So this Yulu in the box is now being shipped into other cities,
Mhm.
and hopefully in next couple of years, at least my ambition is to take it to other parts of the globe, because we see the use case of what we are doing
Yeah.
in many parts of the world, and with our frugal innovation, uh, it can be very high ROI for any
Absolutely.
party who basically does that.
Yeah, yeah. Franchising model is. I don't think a lot of mobility companies are doing it right, but if it is done right, it's an easy way to scale. There are two companies
Yeah.
that come to my mind. One is a company called Swing from South Korea, and another company called Jet from Kazakhstan. They're using exactly kind of a similar model to expand, and they're expanding pretty quick, right? In terms of market size, I mean, you spoke about India. Uh, do you see other markets with your InMobi story? You didn't expand to Europe or US. You took a completely different path before getting to US and Europe, right? Do you have
Yeah.
any global ambitions with Yulu?
Yeah. So two of our big supporters or shareholders, one is Bajaj and one
Yeah,
is Magna. Both of them are multi-country organizations. So Bajaj, for example, they export their product to 70 plus countries, and a lot of those markets are natural fit for Euro. And then from Magna's side, Magna is more into car domain, so
yeah,
they make components for car, and they're also present in 50 plus countries. And now we see with this people mobility, goods mobility use cases across the globe. As you rightly mentioned, Zumo is big in New York City.
yeah.
And New York City is not known for a two-wheeler.
Uh,
Everyone says, oh, New York City means car. No, for delivery business, car is a stupid idea.
yeah,
Why? Because there's no place to park. And there's a guy who is looking for livelihood to move a box of a pizza. This small two-wheeler is good enough.
true.
So we have actually for real an opportunity in the developing world and developed world both. And this is matter of our ability to execute it, when we have a little bit more stability,
Mhm.
everything when we are okay. So we don't want to just do for the heck of it.
Yeah,
We wanted certain milestone to be achieved. So we thought let's do the franchisee model in India. Understand that someone who is not part of Yulu, how do they operate my systems?
yeah,
And once we get comfort, take it to some country where we can still touch and feel, maybe some Southeast Asian country where there's a lot of cultural similarity. Once we get that piece right, take it to Europe. So we have, and the reason I'm giving you the long answer, because for us, finding the right partners is not a difficult task.
yeah.
Bajaj, for example, has got those bunch of partners for decades. They understand two-wheeler deeply, very, very well. How to look after these vehicles. They know that they know that
Yeah.
part very well. So just using that trust equation and amplify our reach in multiple countries across the globe.
Got it. So over the life of Yulu, so far, I think you've raised about 125, 130 million, right? Just for the Yulu part, I think it was like about 75, 76 million raised, right?
Yeah,
You are at a point where you are still growing, right? I mean, 100% growth is not, not an easy feat. And I'm pretty sure you're going to grow much faster in the next years as well if you expand, if you have like, higher expansion plans. Is it fair to focus on profitability right now? When I say profitability, I'm talking about EBIT. Is it fair to focus on that right now, or your strategy is to focus on growth right now and look at profitability later? What's your strategy there like? Because the reason why I'm asking is globally, everyone is like focusing on profitability, even in markets where there's so much growth potential, right?
sure. I think it's a very good question. And honestly, I do not know there's only a single answer.
Hmm.
It's sometimes the belief of the founding team. Sometimes it's also a function of the business model you are in. If you remember what happened in the case of Bird and Lime,
Yeah.
particularly in the case of Bird, they were growing very fast. They were able to raise capital at a higher valuation, show the numbers, go raise another round of capital. So the strategy of growth was very clear. You keep on raising equity capital. We'll figure about the profitability and execution
Later.
later, or profitability later. And as if there's no, rough day. And the moment they got into the negative cycle down, the company basically, uh,
True.
so they had a bad outcome. We raised equity capital to demonstrate that this business model works. We raised equity capital to build those fundamental assets, the infrastructure I spoke about, the bike investment we have made jointly with Bajaj, etc., and the scale at which the business model gets profitable. So the good news is we are EBITDA profitable. We are not EBIT
Yeah.
profitable yet. But for us, the growth does not come without adding the asset. As you all know, our
Exactly.
business is you have to add bike, only then you grow. And for me, if I keep on using equity capital, then I'll keep on getting diluted.
Yeah.
So for me, a path to hyper growth is only possible when I am able to access the capital on a non-dilutive basis. So for me, getting to EBIT profitability is not something which I have an option to not hit.
Mm.
So I have to hit that so that I can unlock a pool of capital which is infinite. So
True.
we all know that India market is growing like crazy.
Yeah.
If the country has to grow, whatever ambition you hear from our prime minister, so we're talking about a growth which is insanely crazy. And to enable all of that, mobility is a core part of it. And as I mentioned, that we want to play a leading role in that transformation. And if demand is not a constraint, it's only supply game. And for me, supply is the money, and the money I want dilutive. And for me to be non-dilutive capital, EBIT profitability is a requirement. So
Yeah.
long answer once again, I gave you the logic. We ought to be EBIT profitable.
Mhm.
The good news is, sometime next year, we will be EBIT profitable as per the current projections. We have been EBITDA profitable since April of this year, consistently, and next financial year we will be EBIT profitable in some month. I don't know the entire
Okay.
FI or not, but we will start hitting EBIT profitable, and then we are not looking back from
Okay.
a scale perspective. Yeah. And
Got
when
it.
you look at now in this context, from a 50,000 vehicle fleet to a million, let's say in 5 years out view, we are not growing 2x, we are growing far faster.
Got it. So your idea is like, to tap into debt similar to what Voy and Dot did in Europe right
Yeah.
now, right? Okay, got it.
Yeah. I
So-
think technically it's lease financing
yeah.
where
Okay.
we are able to grow very, very fast.
Okay.
Otherwise,
Okay.
when you take debt, you also have to manage equity to debt ratio for the
Yeah.
governance and sometimes financial reasons. So
Got it.
it's a lease financing which we need a lot
Okay.
of money.
Got it. We're almost towards the end of the episode. A question that I want to ask, and it's also kind of not well understood in the industry. If you look at US, Europe, those are very different markets to operate. India has its own challenges. I mean, of course, the scale is humongous. I mean, like you said, India has growth ambitions, and to support that, companies like yours will have to grow much bigger as well, right? What are the challenges in India for you to grow, right? Why is India market very different to, say, Europe or US?
Sure. So, and you're asking me the context in mobility context, not
Yeah, in
general,
mobility
right?
context, yeah, just mobility context,
Yeah.
because there's infrastructure
Sure.
challenges. There's many, right, which are still improving.
Sure. So I will answer your question in two parts. First part is the journey from when we started till today. Why our journey has been relatively slower. So look
Yeah.
at any company, they're putting 50,000 should be like this, right? It should not take 8 years for any company. So it did take some time, and there are complications with respect to the industry where there was no electric bike, there was no battery specification, there was no infrastructure. policy, user habit. So we had to build it all one by one. So
Yeah.
we were not waiting for someone else to solve this. So we solved all of our problem. And there's a country part, which is the allocation of capital. So when you are sitting in a low ARPU market, your love and affection from a financial investor's perspective is also limited. So if I am doing this business in the US, then the quantum of money available to you as a founder is far higher versus you're trying to do in India. So because of India infrastructure challenges and call it whatever ARPU and perception, we had access to lesser amount of capital. So that was an India problem, I must say.
Yeah.
Now going forward, if you truly ask me uh, whom I can really crib that, oh, he's or she is not helping or this organization is not helping. Honestly speaking, we don't need anyone.
Hmm.
Everything is on us.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you why, because our profitability is in our hand. The moment we hit a milestone in terms of the size of the fleet, we hit a bit profitable. It's not a time function, it's a fleet count function. And the moment we hit that, then the capital requirement will be insanely crazy. And this money is coming from, by the way, all over the world. They're already
Yeah.
in touch with us. So it's not the capital pool which is limited from India, but coming from Far East and you name it. So we have access to infinite capital. And then there are entrepreneurs like Zepto and Blinkit and Snapbit and Pronto and 10 more companies. I said, when you become an AWS Mobility,
Yeah.
imagine when other founders will say, oh my God, I have this. Can I do this? So like when ChatGPT or Gen AI happened, look at the number of companies which got
Exactly.
created. They were not around. The founders were there, but they did not know what to do.
Yeah.
But the moment the infrastructure came, they started building these valuable companies. Same thing with us. The moment we are there, out there from a scale perspective, like not unthinkable for us to believe that there will be 100 or more companies which will be built on top of it. And that's a fascinating part. And for that, I don't need anyone else. In fact, it will happen.
Yeah.
And in the same market, when you are seeing a success story of a Lenskart or a
Absolutely.
success story of, for that matter, Rapido, which has done well in mobility, a
Yeah.
success story of Zepto, which we have not seen elsewhere, or a Blinkit or Instamart. So yeah, there are a lot of interesting things should happen from our country.
Absolutely.
And we think that we should be also part of that success story somehow powering
Yeah.
all of these business models.
Absolutely. Amit, it's a pleasure talking to you. Early this year, when I acquired Micromobility Industries, I was looking at a couple of companies because I follow financials of companies very closely, and Yulu was one of the companies that was in my watch list, and you and Yulu was also part of the reason why I hope in this industry, and you've been an inspiration for a lot of founders building in the space. And thank you so much for that. And thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing your story.
No, thank you. You have been doing a great job. And just like myself, you also have been a long into this domain.
Yeah.
So I truly appreciate and wish you all the best. Really enjoy talking to you. You were well prepared, ask very tough question, relevant ones. Totally enjoy the conversation today.
Same here, Ahmed. Thank you so much for coming on the pod.
Thank you, buddy.